Hi, everyone. Welcome to Between Two Speakers. I'm Mariana Swallow, a public speaking coach and public speaking instructor at Loyola University, Chicago. Randy Ford has the day off, but I'm happy to say that we have my colleague, Alyssa Burns of Alyssa Burns Communications with us. Hi, Alyssa.
Hi, Mare. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Great. I'm very excited to be a part of this program today. I'm
Thanks.
honored that you asked me.
I'm happy to have you here. So Alyssa, you've been in business for yourself for a while, and Alyssa, like myself, also has taught public and professional speaking at Loyola University. And Alyssa, one of your specialties is teaching people how to own the room. What are some of your tips for us?
Okay, well, definitely owning the room is something that I think everybody should master, and it's not that difficult. I came up with 5 simple tips to own the room.
We'd love to hear them.
So, for those of you who don't know, to own the room is to command your audience's attention, respect, and action from beginning to the end of your presentation. So it's a great thing to accomplish, and with some tips and awareness, you can do it. I think absolutely number 1 is confidence. It's hard to command your audience's attention if you lack confidence. So several studies demonstrate that confident speakers are viewed as more credible and more likable than someone who's not confident.
Yep.
So I think we all gravitate towards people that express confidence, that have an air of confidence about them. So I think confidence and influence go hand in hand. So if you encounter someone who has confidence, you'll tend to believe and trust and follow him or her.
Do you think there's a little bit of fake it till you make it? Because nobody's born confident, right? It's something we need to work on, right?
Oh, 100%. I think it's something we need to work on. And I think the more aware you are of your surroundings, the more you practice your presentation, the more confident you are in your ability, all that kind of stuff. And I think it helps to have other people as role models, perhaps maybe that you look up to, or that you've seen them present and you're like, oh my gosh, I absolutely want to be like her because she just works it and she owns that space.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 2, I would say delivery is hugely important. Your movement, your gestures, and the way you use your voice will either attract an audience or it's going to bore them to death. Okay.
Absolutely.
So I think the first thing to remember is be energetic. Like before you start speaking or presenting, everything in business and in life is about how you communicate. So showing some energy, take a deep breath, be energetic, act like you want to be there. You know, you want to be there because if you're listless or you're like planted like a tree on the stage, or if you're looking down, you have your hands clasped together, anything like that, you're going to lose your audience. So it's important to have energy. I know I myself am always attracted to people that have good energy. You have really good energy. I knew this second I met you from across the table at our adjunct orientation. I was like, she's cool. She has great energy.
Well, thanks, Alyssa.
Yeah,
I felt the same about you.
Oh, well, good. So I do think that it doesn't mean you need to be a crazy clown on the stage or run back and forth or anything. It just means that you have to have a little bit more energy than your audience. People are naturally attracted to energy.
Absolutely.
So that's the first thing about delivery. Okay. Second is eye contact. Eye contact is incredibly important. I always think that when you're up there and you make eye contact with certain individuals in your audience, I try to just even make eye contact for 5 seconds. So they're looking right back at you. You look at them and then you move to someone else and make eye contact. You've got to make eye contact with your audience.
So it's like a conversation, right?
Exactly.
If you sit down and have a conversation, you're not going to look over someone's head.
Exactly. Or if somebody's looking down or something, they're not paying attention.
Right.
So, and if you're up there as a speaker and you're kind of looking at the ground or watching your feet or looking to the side, no, you're not going to gain anyone's attention that way.
Correct.
So another part of delivery, I think, is movement. Like, as I said, some speakers get planted like a tree. Other ones race back and forth and they're crazy. But I think one is boring to the audience. Like if you just sit there and you're stoic and stiff. The other is distracting. But I think to attract your audience, you need to move around the stage on purpose. The last part about delivery is I think it's imperative to dress the part.
Yes.
Okay. The way you dress matters. People always notice it. Always. So One time, just to put this in context, I worked
Sure.
with a client who got feedback from his manager that he needed to develop his executive presence. I know you do this a lot with what you do.
Yep.
But the first thing I noticed was that this guy was not dressing the part. Okay. I knew it right away because I worked with other executives from his organization and I knew the dress code. So
Mm.
this guy wore tennis shoes and wrinkly shirt. They were not helping him in the more formal and conservative culture of his company. Just by putting on a nice polished shoes and an iron shirt, he started getting the attention
Mm-hmm.
and respect and recognition he deserved. Of course, dressing the part is not the only thing needed to own a room, but it
Right.
helps if you start out on the right foot. People
Absolutely.
always notice how you dress. Third way to own a room is to tell good stories. So I think the reason people are obsessed with shows like Game of Thrones or The Crown or Breaking Bad or anything
Mm-hmm.
like that is that they capture our imagination with their storylines.
Mm-hmm.
So I think anyone can do the same when they communicate to their audience. If you tell things in stories, people gravitate towards stories.
Yeah, stories, we're naturally wired to engage with stories. So that's why they connect with us. But also, they really show the impact. Stephanie Evergreen, who's a data visualization specialist, always says data is important, but stories are compelling.
The fourth way to own a room is through the structure of your narrative.
Mm.
Okay. No one is attracted to a rambling and confusing presentation.
Yes.
To get people on your side, have them in the palm of your hand, you need to be clear with your messaging.
Mm-hmm.
So clarity comes from structure, okay? And make sure you map out the narrative, what you're talking about, even if it's chronological,
Mm-hmm.
if it's sequential, meaning event-based narrative with events organized based on previous events, or if it's climatic pattern, which is importance-based narrative with events organized from least important to the most important. So you
Mm-hmm.
kind of start one place and then you kind of keep going with more momentum,
Mm-hmm.
but just have some structure. So
Absolutely. Have some kind of organization to it because audiences, even though they might know what you're talking about, you can't assume they do, and they need to be able to follow it and have flow.
exactly. Okay, and then my number 5 simple tip to own the room
Mm-hmm.
is to know how to improvise well.
Yes.
Okay,
Tell us why you say that.
being charming with your spontaneity and wit is a great way to get and hold on to people's attention. This
Mm-hmm.
is the hardest thing because it takes a lot of practice to be a good improviser.
Yeah, it does.
Working in this area helps all the other areas. I know some people who are incredible speakers have taken an improv class
Mm-hmm.
or they know how to think on their feet because something you're going to stumble over a word, you're going to say something that maybe you have a hard time pronouncing even though you've nailed it in 10 other practice sessions,
Mm-hmm.
or you walk in and somebody's talking on the side, or maybe your presentation doesn't come up right exactly. You got to know how to just be able to
Yeah.
think on your feet,
Mm-hmm.
improvise well, and maybe punch a little humor in there. So I think that's the last tip. It's
Mm-hmm.
definitely the hardest, but you know what? The more confidence you have, the more you know you can just handle what other blip might happen. So just as a recap is 5 main ways to own a room.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, confidence. Number 2, delivery. Number 3, structure. Number 4, storytelling. And number 5, impromptu speaking, being able to improvise. So I think if you're able to meld those together, you are well on your way to owning the room.
That sounds great. Alyssa, thank you so much for sharing these tips with us. I'm really happy to share these with our audience.
Of course, my pleasure. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for joining us on Between Two Speakers. I'm Mariana Swallow. This has been Alyssa Burns with Alyssa Burns Communications. We'll see you here next time. Bye-bye.